Happy today.
Happy today.
How was your trip, man?
Man, it was fantastic. Thank you for asking. It was a nonstop whirlwind, dude. Man, my legs are tired from all the walking, but it's good. I think I might have lost a couple pounds. So
I was gonna say you look like you're still tired out from all the hustling and
a
bustling
little bit.
because I like it. I would have been with you and Doug. I'd be going to bed early and getting up early every
Well,
day.
I will tell
I'm
you
like
this.
you. I want
I
to get
did go to
into
bed
it.
early. I didn't go to any after parties. I did not go out and, look, I'm 55, dude. I've got a heart issue. I'm not going to go out and rave till dawn. But I will tell you this though. Next time, if you ever have to travel with Doug Hardwick, get your own room. It's like sleeping next to a gen set with that guy. He's loud. I'm like, dude, I love you,
Uh,
man, but man, that guy, he makes some noise when he
that's like my
sleeps.
little sister. It's actually her birthday, so I'll say happy birthday to my sister Susie. But yeah, growing up, I don't think she snores as bad as she did when she was a little
Mm,
kid. But like our rooms were like right next to each other, so it's like my bed's here, her bed's on this side of the
mhm.
other wall, and man, I could it just sounded like a buzzsaw. Man, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, she knows, she knows. I love her, I love her to death. But as soon as I went to college, I slept
Yeah.
like a
I threw
champ.
I threw in my ear pods and, that kinda helped things, so but yeah. It was good time. It was great to hang with Doug, a lot of great contacts, a lot of great information, and, I think just the other aspect was just social, to meet folks that you've had an opportunity to talk with online and in spaces, etcetera, but to see them and shake some hands and kiss some babies, that was always good.
Nice, nice. Well, let's thank our sponsors real quick. Let's thank Quantum Expeditions, Quantum Economics, the folks over at Shield Folio. Let's not forget them. There should be a QR code popping up in a few seconds for them. And also the team at Deorganized Media, and obviously all the folks on Bitcoin Live Network that have a show. Thank you to all of our friends and fam around all the programs. And thanks to our producer, Nick,
He's
because
the
he's a
best.
great guy and
He's
he
the
makes it
best.
happen. Um, so yeah, today's show's topic is game theory. It's on like Donkey Kong. And yes, it seriously is. All these people on the social media that are crying in their cornflakes because Bitcoin's going down. You don't get it. This is temporary pain. But let's get into it. I should have my Twitter hopefully feed open. I just got to
Yeah.
share this screen and we will
Share the
start
screen.
the
Share the
talking.
screen, G.
Da, 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 da.
Share the screen.
So the big news of the day is this one right here. The first public gold miner, Bluebird, has announced that they will be selling gold to buy Bitcoin. Da, 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 da,
Wow.
da,
Has Peter Schiff
surprise.
caught wind of this?
I think Peter Schiff is in his cardiologist's office as we speak. I am praying for him. I hope he is doing well.
Wow.
But yes, we knew this was coming. There was actually, if you looked at the outflows from the
Yeah.
gold ETFs, it's some of the biggest outflows of the gold ETFs ever. And most of that money is going into Bitcoin. Yes, correct. The answer is Bitcoin. um, and just so we're talking about inflows and outflows, let me just switch to, I think I have it pulled up. Where's my coin glass?
While you're pulling that up, I would just share this
Let's
with you. I
switch.
don't have it. I don't have it in front of me. But
Yeah, go ahead.
yesterday, Eric Balkanis, over there at Bloomberg, man, the record amount of RIAs that are gobbling up Bitcoin ETFs. I mean, this is huge. So you're seeing these inflows, and these are the RIAs now that are coming in. These are the Morgan Stanleys. These are the folks that have to take a little bit longer. The more TradFi folks. So we're seeing a lot come in here. You got it up here. This is Glassnode. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you are correct. And so the only thing that I saw
Yeah.
strange today is the first it looks like the last couple days
Mhm.
of May, almost like $1 billion in outflows in the ETFs. So this is some of the reason we're seeing some of the price suppression. It's due to this $1 billion outflow. We had like close to like right all the way through the month of May. Most of the month was very positive. It looked close to I
Mhm.
think 1 or $5.2 billion in net inflows, and then right at the end of the month, we lost about $1 billion. So roughly maybe $4 billion total net inflows for the month of May. But as you can see, the price is and the volumes are starting to pick up for the
Yeah.
ETF. It's clear as day that the outflows are starting to get smaller, with the exception of those few days at the end of May, and the inflows are starting to dwarf. And clearly, the miners can't keep pace, and the exchanges can't keep pace, and eventually, OTC, the exchanges, and the miners will run out, right?
I
And this
keep
is going to
hearing this though.
happen
I
at a
keep hearing this.
breakneck
We're
pace.
supply shock, supply shock. When? When supply shock?
I again, it's usually when we have less than about 1.8 to 1.5 million, because that's when the exchanges start having to like dip into their cold storage, and that's when like they've like literally sometimes Coinbase shuts down. It's because their liquid supply that they had in their hot wallet, it just empties,
Mm.
right? Um, and
I've been
that's
hearing about
when
supply
you
crunch
see
for a while,
the
and yeah,
price.
I've not seen it happen. You'd think that it would with the amount of sailors
Well,
buying
again,
and the fact that the ETF inflows, but yet it's not being reflected in the price.
I agreed, but we did have a net outflow of about $1 billion. That's a lot of corn. Let's be clear. Um, but I agree with you. We should be seeing like if I kind of let me click back to the other tab. Yeah. So if you see how the price action is kind of matching these green
Oh,
candles that are
yeah,
in the
look at that.
inflow, again, we should be pushing higher. It's only, I mean, it could be days, it could be a couple of
Mhm.
weeks. But I think that we're starting to have a bull pennant form on the weekly chart. I didn't pull up my trading view page, but let me pull it up and take a glance. Let's see, full chart. Yeah, and we do. We kind of really do. Let me switch to this tab. Is this a daily chart? So this is a bull pennant forming. Let me pull up the weekly. Let's hope it looks very close on the weekly. So again, it's going to have to break down more for this big bull
So you're
flag to
thinking what, like,
form. But
what do
here,
you
let
think,
me
like
pull it up.
103, 102?
You kind of want it to come like down into here. So it could come as low as 80s, 90s, but it could just, stop here, which would be, what was that? Sorry, I got this stupid thing asking me to log in thing. I guess 95 is probably, it looks like it could. This is where I thought it could retest is this range right in here, like 101.
Mhm.
But it could go down to here. And if it goes into this range,
It's
yeah, I would imagine to see a lot of the whales
oh,
come
hell
in to
yeah.
scoop it up at those
Hell yeah.
prices,
I'm
and
coming in
a
at
very
that
quick
point, bro. I've
rebound.
got powder
I
on the
wouldn't think it
sideline
would
and
be
I'm
those
ready to come
prices for
in.
that long.
I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting.
Yeah,
I'm a very bullish Bitcoin maxi to a point, but I've gotten a lot of love and respect from my friends who are bears who like to short the markets, and so for one time, I'm really kind of paying attention to some of my colleagues that I respect out there in the market that are traders and that are on the bearish side and looking at some of this bearish sentiment. And for me, I'm like, great opportunity to smash and grab some sats under 100K. I never thought that would happen. I don't know if we go there. I personally, I still feel like what we're at, like 103 right now. Is that where we're at right now? Is it? Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's the line. But if it goes down below that, wow, I would be doing anything I can to find some budget neutral ways to acquire some Satoshis. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
I might go sell some plasma, dude. I might just say, fuck it. I'm gonna go sell some plasma. Not financial advice. Don't do that.
And I was in a spaces that you were in yesterday. I was trying to get in there before I went to work. And literally I just wanted to be like, the 4-year cycle's dead. And then all of a sudden that became the conversation. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I want people to understand. With all this nation state buying, right? We got Pakistan, South Korea president is now pro Bitcoin. That's the biggest news of the week, right? And I think I have that over here. Let me pull that up. And that's a big deal, right? Like, people seem to forget that the kimchi premium is a big deal. So once, and again, the big tweet of the day from him was that Bitcoin is priority. It's like, whoa, this guy's serial. And that's amazing.
No frosted flakes over here.
Again, this is big time important because the South Korean market is huge. And they love crypto. So if Bitcoin is back on the board, we're going to see those big high prices that everyone's thinking about. The million, the 2 million, that Max Kaiser saying, is it possible this cycle? I still think yes, because again, we haven't seen this big move yet. And we just have all of this positive metrics, right? Positive metrics from the ETF, positive macro from the global stance, right? Let's just pull up Satoshi, what Satoshi Action Fund, right? What they've been doing the last couple of days and weeks.
Well, Dennis is in South Korea. I think
that's the other thing, is he's in South Korea too. But yeah, so here's another one that was a big one in the macro. Is Hong Kong officially accepts Bitcoin as proof of assets to apply for residency. That's huge. Here is, like we were saying, the states are going to lead. This is one of the big stories that most people aren't talking about. This is Hakeem Jeffries saying what everyone needs to hear.
Because there are allies of the crypto industry on both sides of the aisle in the House, and that was reflected in the crypto industry's engagement. I think the best thing that can happen.
What is this hospital closing? People will die for what? For buying Bitcoin?
No. The clip that we're trying to hear is that
because there are allies of the
Speaker Jeffries is basically saying this is not supposed to be it should be a bipartisan issue. This shouldn't be a Republican or Democrat thing. This is an American thing.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm sorry the volume's so low, but that's the whole point of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not for just the wealthy. It's not just for the poor. It's for anybody that this is real free market capital, right? And
apolitical.
When the price rises, all boats rise, right? When the price falls, all boats go with the tide. So this is not a Ponzi scheme, right? Ponzi schemes, the person at the top wins and the people at the bottom lose. No,
that would be the dollar.
When Bitcoin would be the
rises, dollar, Gerald.
Yeah, exactly. When Bitcoin goes up in value, everyone wins. When Bitcoin goes down in value, everyone suffers, right? That's the beauty of it.
Nick's comments in the back. Producer Nick is killing it with the comments. We got to bring him on the show sometimes because his comments are in the background. Big, beautiful Bill Ponzi. Exactly what it is.
But yeah, here's the Satoshi Action Fund in Seoul. So again, this is all lining up, right? Like everything is lining up for this Bitcoin mega nexus that is happening from, again, some of the biggest countries all in the world, from Pakistan, South Korea. We know North Korea likes Bitcoin, right? We've known that for years. I was the first person to say the North Koreans were doing shenanigans. And what did people say in that space 3 years ago? Cuckoo. Yeah, okay, not cuckoo. It's a big deal, right? Who's next? I think India. I think India is, if Pakistan is mining,
Yeah.
India's Modi knows he's got to get into the game. So we're going to see Prime Minister Modi say something in the next few weeks. Hopefully it's positive, because hopefully he gets it. But all these countries now have to play catch up, right? And if you don't, you will become an emerging market economy over the next 20 years if you don't figure out Bitcoin mining, or putting it on the treasury, or buying some of the ETF. You don't figure out Bitcoin at one of these entry points, or layers rather, you will get wrecked as a country, a nation state, a person, and an individual, a company. The list is endless, right?
Whether you're a
So
human,
please,
whether you're a sovereign individual, a corporation, a country, everybody needs to have a personal Bitcoin strategy. All right, you need to have one. You need to have exposure to the asset. So
exactly.
yeah, to your point, yeah, you need to get in the game. What is it? Speaking of game theory, do you think there's an accident that the U.S. and China have a Bitcoin parity?
Well, that's actually a misnomer. So right now, the U.S. has the advantage, right? We have more mining now in Texas, and we have more mining domestic in the U.S. from Pennsylvania. I know there are some miners in Washington, Oregon, California, but the majority of them obviously are in Texas. There's a few other large operation, and that was one of my big theories this week, is that all of these huge AI centers that they're building for Stargate, guess who's going to absorb all of that power? Bitcoin. Because again, AI money, in my opinion, it outweighs.
But the power requirements for AI vary greatly and significantly from the power requirements for Bitcoin mining. So we're talking about two different loads, and we're talking about some seriously fundamental, like apples and oranges here. So Bitcoin, yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. But the point is that they consume way more juice, and Bitcoin needs that power. And again, Bitcoin makes energy a liquid capital asset, right? And we know this, right? Most of the world does not get this fact that Bitcoin's the carbon credit, the transfer credit, the distribution credit, the literally energy transfer credit. It becomes whatever you want it to be, but it takes all forms of energy and turns them into liquid capital. And over the next 50 years, as we stated, I think in 3 episodes ago, in the bigger markets, energy is going to go up, right? In the smaller markets, the energy is going to go down at the beginning. But Bitcoin mining is going to move to where the cheapest energy sources are, right? And so we're going to see more El Salvador's pop up, right? We're going to see, like, boom, Bhutan, right? Bhutan's now going to be a G20 country in like 10 years, right? Because they figured it out. And then we'll see, like, maybe a couple countries in Africa and a couple countries in Latin America that figure out, it's like, okay, now we can, this huge waterfall that, the IMF wouldn't give us a loan for, we can get the money ourselves, right? And put in mining operations or geothermal if you're in Iceland, or next to a volcano in possibly Italy or wherever. And you're harnessing that energy, and you're getting those really cheap kilowatts, almost free kilowatts. Well, your Bitcoin is really inexpensive to create. So again, the miners will gravitate to those cheaper energy sources over the next 20 years. And that's just a fact of economics. And watch, again, these third world countries become first world mega powers over the next 10 to 20 years. El Salvador will be the first one. Just look at the hit piece that The Economist put out, which is like, you're literally 3 years late for that article, like 3 to 5 years late, because the country is flourishing, crime is down, people are 10 times happier, right? You have expats that are like, I am going to leave America to move back to El Salvador. Yeah, you want to fix, I've said this many times, you want to fix your immigration problem, whatever country you are, yeah, adopt a Bitcoin standard, right? Because then your economy will go up and people will want to stay in your country. They won't want to leave your country because it's full of murder and full of crime and full of gangs. They'll want to stay because there's hope and prosperity. And this is how Bitcoin, again, changes everything from top to bottom. And again, it's not baloney. Even though they're not on a full Bitcoin standard themselves, the country's mining, the country has a Bitcoin treasury, and it's a legal tender anywhere you want. If you find a merchant that accepts it, you can spend it, right? This is how it has to go, and it is going. And look at where we are. We've got all these countries across the world now going, oh shit, yeah, correct. Are you paying attention to, who are the countries making fun of this? Let's talk about some of the Scandinavian countries. Oh, Norway, they're not talking bad about it all of a sudden. Sweden, not talking bad about it all of a sudden. And why is that? Because everyone in the world realizes that your capital, right, on the Web 2.0 is attacked at every vector and is not safe. Bitcoin is 100 billion times safer because it's built on SHA-256 cryptography. Facts. Oh yeah. But let's go back to some more stories. There's, again, story after story talking about what we're talking about, right? Oh yeah, let's listen to this video from Mr. Mahler's. And one of the reasons, I'm expanding my portfolio into Bitcoin treasury companies, but only ones that will show
Proof of reserve.
Proof reserves, correct. And that's what they're all about. So let me hit the mute.
I'm going to start doing my shows in a closet, in an empty closet, I think.
Or interested in using our Bitcoin-backed lending product. We just updated our loan agreement to clear the air and remove any confusion that the Bitcoin collateral that you have at Strike is safely held by us and our partners in segregated wallets. There's no funny business, there's no trading, there is no on-lenting, and most importantly, there is no rehypothecation. Okay. Why did we make this update? We hear you guys loud and clear. I've said many times, transparency and customer focus is at the core of everything we do at Strike. So with that in mind, I figured I'd come on here, record a video, walk you through how the product works, the feedback we were getting, the rightful feedback we were getting, and the updates we made to address the feedback and make our product better for Bitcoiners. So quickly, how the product works. When we issue a large amount of loans for customers, we work with partners, myself and Strike. Hopefully we get there, but we're not yet at a position where we can lend out billions of dollars or euros or pounds or whatever currency of our own to our customers. So part of my job is to go out. We work with banks or large institutions or pools of capital to source the cheapest currencies we can get that are interested in connecting and lending them to Bitcoiners. So we have lots of Bitcoiners that want to loan against their Bitcoin, and we have a growing set of partners that are interested in supplying liquidity, Bitcoin-backed loans to those partners. Now, obviously, sometimes these partners of ours want proof of the collateral that they're lending against. I've yet to meet the partner that says, here, Jack, take $1 billion. I don't need proof of any of your claims. Here, unlimited money. Obviously, that partner has yet to exist. If they do, I'll let you guys know. So sometimes we have wallets set up. These wallets are single addresses. We're able to see them. We're able to monitor them, where we pledge some collateral to the partner. we have a strict no rehypothecation, no trading, no on-lenting. In fact, the Bitcoin never moves, obviously, unless there is a case where there's a margin call liquidation event, something of that sort. So that's how the product works. We at Strike are connecting Bitcoiners that are interested in borrowing against their Bitcoin, accessing Bitcoin liquidity without selling the asset, and many pools, deep pools of capital. And we're hopeful to keep connecting with pools of capital, driving the price down, making the product better, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little behind the scenes. Now, we had gotten some feedback on our loan agreement where this is legally written out. So let me move myself here. So here I have one of the more popular tweets and points of feedback that states rehypothecation, all caps, right? Rehypothecation. This isn't what you're claiming. This isn't what you said on stage. This isn't what you said in the podcast. Either you need to update us and be more honest that your product does rehypothecate and does terrible things, or you need to update your loan agreement. So
Section
let me
K.
actually blow this up so that I can read what is now the old version. So here, I'll drag this down. So it's specifically section 3K. This is the only update we're making to the loan agreement. Don't need you guys. You don't have to be a lawyer of your own and go through the entire thing. It's this one section here where it previously read, you agree and acknowledge that lender may, at its sole discretion and without notice to you, rehypothecate, pledge, assign, or otherwise transfer all or any part of the Bitcoin collateral to any third party for any purpose during the term of this agreement. You hereby grant lender a power of attorney to execute and deliver any documents, instruments, or agreements necessary to effect such transfer. First of all, feedback entirely warranted. There's been a history of terrible actors. Great Bitcoiners have gotten burned. And I get it. This is not our best work. Most importantly, it doesn't accurately reflect the words that I've been saying, and it does not accurately protect our customers. Okay. And so all the time, you guys hold us to an extremely high standard because we as humans hold Bitcoin to an extremely high standard. It is part of the job. I absolutely love and adore the relationship I have with the community. I opened my phone when I was coming home from the gym yesterday. I got all the feedback. We immediately got to work. I challenged my team. Let's see if we can get this turned around in 24 hours. And so here we are. So feedback absolutely warranted. It makes sense. This was not the best way for us to ensure our customers of how the product works and protect them. So let me go to what is now the updated version. So here you guys can see this is the same part of the agreement. Here is our section K right here. I'll highlight it. So let me read what is now the new agreement. Lender has relationships with one or more capital providers who provide funding to lender in order to provide the loan to you. You agree and acknowledge that we have the right to use the Bitcoin collateral for purposes of or in connection with a pledge, repledge, or transfer of Bitcoin collateral to one or more capital providers during the term of this agreement without notice. Any such collateral will be ultimately held in segregated wallets or accounts where it is securely held and not further rehypothecated or lent on to third parties and subject to the terms in place with the capital provider. Okay, we think that this is much better language. It clearly states we work with partners. Your Bitcoin is held securely in segregated wallets with us and at times these partners, and there is no rehypothecation. There is no on-lenting. And so just to be super clear, the first sentence here just states that we work with partners to service some loans, okay? You agree that you acknowledge this fact and that no one's going to be caught off guard or surprised when they hear Jack's working with NYDIG. I didn't know about that. We have partners that help us facilitate this product. At times, these partners need proof of the claims that we're making. There's tons of Bitcoiners. This product is a really successful product for us that want loans. And so at times, there's a separate wallet that's set up, nothing ever moves, and it is pledged. And then the last part is my favorite part. Any such collateral will ultimately be held in segregated wallets or accounts where it's securely held and not further rehypothecated or lent on to third parties and subject to the terms in place with the capital provider. So every agreement we have, every partner we have, there's no rehypothecation. We monitor these wallets. None of the Bitcoin moves. There's no funny business. There's no nothing. There's no nothing. And so
that's a big deal, right? Because the banks, as we were just talking in the spaces, we were in the quantum expedition or quantum mechanics spaces. We were talking about this, right? The banks are going to offer these services, but they will rehypothecate, right? Whether they figure out how to build their own wrapped version on Ethereum, or they're doing it with Coinbase or something like that. And I did some research. I don't think Coinbase is doing any rehypothecating with wrapped Bitcoin on Coinbase, like on their base, because I did pull up their wallet, and their wallet would have to have way more wrapped it's called CBBTC. There would have to be way more in there.
Yeah, how about just stick to
flags.
BTC? I don't need the WBTC, the CBDC,
I agree,
BTC.
dude.
Just give me fucking BTC. I'm sorry.
I concur 1000%. We're both on the maxi level right there, bro.
Come on.
Like I can't explain, like, and let's go over to that tab, right? So I was talking about this on the Spaces. There is a page on CoinMarketCap. It's called the rehypothecated page, and look what's the most rehypothecated crypto in crypto. Tron. Look, wrapped Bitcoin's way down here, right? And there's some wrapped Ethereum. Yes, we accept your cookies. Can we be done with that? Can we be done with the accept cookies flag? Can we get rid of that? Oh my gosh. Anyway, a whole lot of wrapped Ethereum. Here is that CBBTC. It is number 11. But again, that would have to be way up here for me to have red flags that Coinbase was doing something, shady. But I do want to take a look into these wallets right here, because, it is number 3. That's a lot of money, right? Look at how much money that is. But yeah, again, if you're going to really understand Bitcoin, all of this stuff, right? This wrapped Bitcoin here, all of this wrapped stuff, stay away from it, right? I know there's DeFi people that will swear different. Yeah, these people also were the same people going into these DeFi platforms with, like 1,000 Ethereum, right? Like 10,000 Ethereum. They're like, oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, because your yield when you walk out of some of those farms is huge. If you're throwing 1 Ethereum into one of those DeFi platforms, no, not that great, not that winning strategy that you think it's going to be. But yeah, buy the real asset. Don't buy a wrapped version of the asset. And let me explain exactly why, right? Let's just use Tron as a stupid, dumb example, right? You have all this wrapped Tron in this Tron DeFi platform, and Tron goes to $30. Well, guess what? Yeah, your yield in that Tron DeFi platform is going to be insane for a few days or few weeks. But if you wanted to get your Tron back and then sell it on the open market, yeah, Godspeed. That's probably going to take you like two to 4 weeks is my guess. The standard unstaking from most platforms is 21 days. So if your Tron went to $3 to $10, you are missing out on mad profits because your shit's locked into this network and you can't do jack shit with it. Pardon my French.
Peace Love shooting some comments in here, Gerald. Did you see that? Did you see our buddy Peace? Our buddy Peace from Decentralized or Deorganized Media got a couple comments in here talking about stacks.
Oh yeah, so Peace Love, good to see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. But yeah, so stacks is the exception. Obviously, it technically it's not a wrapped version, but again, SBTC, we don't like our BTCs to have extra letters in front of it. But yes, stacks is totally different, and stacks is an exception to the rule. But again, I always tell people, buy the real asset. If you're going to get stacks, buy stacks, right? And then obviously you want to lock some of your stacks into stacks and you get some Bitcoin as a yield. I get that. But you should always, whatever asset you're stacking, don't have it all in the staking pool, right? Because if the underlying asset takes off, you can't send that stacks to crypto.com or Binance or Kraken and have your your big day, right? It's not going to happen. You're going to be like, oh, so what's their lockup period? Let me ask you that, Steve. What is Stacks like unstaking time period? How many days? Let's see if we get
I'm sure he will. Yeah. Well, I'm sure he will. He's pretty good to see it.
Oh yeah. But the average turnaround is about 3 weeks. That's like the standard industry from Solana to Cardano. There you go, 14 days. So that's actually shorter. So that's good. But again, if Stacks went to $20 tomorrow and you have all your stacks locked into the Stacks network, you're going to be a little upset.
Well, I think that he says he might be on a slight delay. I think though that at that point though, you kind of have to put that into your risk profile, into your whole portfolio. Like you have to understand then that like, hey, I'm allocating this here, and I'm not going to be able to get to it in that amount of time. So if these price fluctuations do happen, you're going to have to probably just factor that into your risk assessment there if you want to do that.
Yeah, I would just have another bucket.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like just have another bucket.
Yeah.
That and that's why I was saying that earlier in this space is that people, should you hodl or should you spend? Well, if you're going to spend, it should probably be on the Lightning network, and have a Lightning wallet with its own Satoshis, and your hodling wallet should be cold storage and don't touch it. Right? And that's the main difference. And again, if that's too complicated, I always say, well, then maybe you have Bitcoin L1 as your savings, and you have Lightning as your L1 as your checking, or Solana, right? I just posted the other day, Soulflare is partnering with MasterCard, and they're going to be putting out a USDC debit card. So all the green flags are shoo, 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 flying up. All these people that are bearish, I'm like, take a step back, zoom out, bro. There's like all these green flags, and I'm not a huge Solana fan, but I do have, a few small bags of Solana meme coins. But that's a big deal, right?
All right.
Like that's huge.
You got some Solana meme coins. I'm gonna press you on this. I'm just gonna call an audible right now on the show because I want to get spicy here. What's pumpfund.com or what's pump.fund and their tokens gonna do when they launch that token, and is it gonna set all the liquidity out of all the meme coin market?
Well, again, they're just trying to suck some more money out of their already waning volumes. But you can still can money still be made in these products? Yes, but it's very difficult. If you're trying to chase green candles, you're always going to probably lose, right? Unless you're in these signal groups and you're the first 5 minutes to that pool, you're going to lose money, right? Like perfect example, I was in one of these signal groups just like a week ago, and I was like, all right, I'm going to allocate, just a small amount. I think it was like 40 to 50 bucks. And with the intention of it doing this.
Right? Thank you, Steve. Pump not fun.
And it did do this, but then I came in and, started scooping. And I tell people, you can like build up a position in one of these S coins and just not tell anybody, because there's millions of them, and just keep scooping and scooping and scooping and scooping and scooping and scooping. And then you build up like 100 million or whatever, a billion, depending on the token economics. And when it makes its move, you're going to make a killing, right? It's a no brainer, but you have to be patient. And it's like smart dollar cost meme averaging. It's a weird new technique I've been in applying, but if you pull out a zoom out from a chart of the total coin market cap, right? It went from I think it was like $2.7 trillion, then went to 3 trillion and like almost higher. I think it was 3.3 trillion. Now it's retracing. But all of that capital wants to go somewhere. So right now is the time to be accumulating whatever you believe in. We're mainly Bitcoiners, so we scoop Bitcoin. And that's going to succeed. We know this, right? But I am of the opinion that you know, if you're an XRP dude, keep stacking your XRP, because when it makes its move, if your position is large enough, you will have a good day. But again, if that's your favorite underlying asset, you're not going to want to sell. And that's where you're going to fail, right? That's why, you know, I tell people S coins are your friend because you hate them. Right? Bitcoin, I love. Everything else is an S coin, right? With the exception of like Litecoin and a few others. If they're a proof of work, right? And the problem is if you have one asset and it does very well and you love it so much that you won't let it go, well, then you have no liquidity, right? So you have to have some S coins buckets. So if one of them does well, you have no problems going, oh, I will sell donkey fart dust whistle, you know, chain coin. And you have some liquidity back in your you know, in your corner. You're never going to sell your Bitcoin. You're going to have problems with liquidity. Obviously, that's why 21's probably going to be successful, because they're going to give out all these loans. But proof of reserves is important. And the fact that Saylor says it's not, scared me.
I would agree with you. Yeah, you always want to see proof of reserves. That's proof of work. That's just, you know, that's what the whole ecosystem and the ethos of Bitcoin's supposed to be about, right? Donkey Kong coin. People want to know, when's the Donkey Kong coin, Gerald? Are you going to launch one of those on Pump.fun?
We should make one. I should just do it. Pump.fun. Yeah. Mint. But yeah, again, Matt is 1,000% correct, right? You want to know that the whole point of Bitcoin is we can see everything, right? We can see the transactions are transparent. We can see who holds what, right? We know Satoshi hasn't moved his coins for like 14
this
plus
goes back
years,
to a little
right?
bit of the conversation that we just had earlier with Monty Greenspan in the quantum spaces over there. And we were talking about Bitcoin lending, right? And all the various products and services. And when I was in Vegas at the Bitcoin conference, there was an enormous amount of financial services and products that were just going after the Bitcoin lending, right? And I went and I talked to every one, the fucking one of them, dude, because I'm like, I'm gonna hit you up. I want to know. I want to get up in your grill, right? And so I'm talking to them all. And the one thing that, and I'm not here to shill anybody or anything, I'm just going to tell you the information that I found out was that the one firm in particular called Arch Lending, they actually have like a basic proof of reserve. I think you were on the call with us earlier before we came here. They use Anchor, right? So it's a trusted third party where you can go on, they give you a wallet address and you can log on and see proof of reserve right there. There's your Bitcoin, right? It hasn't moved. It's sitting there. So I think services like that, where you're able to take out a loan against your Bitcoin and have it be in a trusted third party where you can still monitor those funds. I think that is where we are going, and that is the shape of the industry. That's what Jack was talking about in that video that we played earlier, and that's what Arch Lending is doing. And I think that, you know, companies that don't have that transparency or don't want to be forthcoming with that transparency, that's where I get a little concerned, and I'd be like, yeah, it might be sketchy.
Somebody was asking, what about game theory? We talked about that on the first half of the show. So if you weren't there, you kind of missed it. But yes, yes, this is very important, right? It casts a big shadow on MicroStrategy, right? Where I understand Michael Saylor's concern for security, for, you know, his team and his people and his company. But at the same time, Bitcoin is all about transparency. So, you know, a lot
it's
of
open source public
people,
blockchain, dude. Like,
yeah, exactly, dude. It's open source public blockchain. When you want to obfuscate, anytime people want to obfuscate, then we know there's potentially chicanery.
No, there's a financial term for that,
or,
Gerald. There's a financial term for that. I learned from Monty Greenspan. It's called fuckery. Yeah, they use that at eToro all the time.
And again, we've seen it time and time again. The last time was, you know, FTX, Celsius, all that block, you know, all those other ones. Now it's the Bitcoin treasury companies, right? So my new idea that I came up with today, which I know I'm not the first person, and I believe there's a few out there already, hedge funds, right?
Oh, what happened? Gerald's connection froze.
Sorry, losing signal.
Kind of.
Sorry, I was losing signal. Yeah. Yeah, blah. But yeah, Bitcoin hedge funds where we just don't put convertible notes and we're just trying to like pump our stock, right? We have other stuff on the other side of the bet. We have gold, we have platinum, we have palladium, we have levered bets, we have real estate, right? There's other things on the other side of the balance sheet, but the biggest, thing anchor to the balance sheet is Bitcoin. And I think more and more people need to start thinking about this. And I would love to help start a Bitcoin hedge fund. But yeah, that's what some of these companies need to be veering away just from a Bitcoin treasury debt company to
there was conversation in one of the spaces I was in the other day that we're going to see a lot of these companies follow suit, copycat, and we're going to have a problem. There's going to be a bubble, and a lot of them are going to get wrecked. And just kind of like the .com bubble, they were talking about, again, a lot of these Bitcoin treasury companies coming on the scene, just like we saw with the .coms. And then we had a big bust. And then guess what? There were only a few of them left that were there to remain and pick up the pieces. And, when you got somebody like Jack Mallers there with a big checkbook with Tether, right, and SoftBank, man, he's basically got an unlimited checkbook. So, we see these treasury companies. I think we're going to see a lot more of them, and I think it could be a very, it could be a bubble, and it could be a fad. And then so again, just be smart, be safe, stack sats, and hodl. Not financial advice, but a darn good life suggestion.
Yes, good sound advice overall. But yeah, I think some of these companies need to just not be a Bitcoin treasury company. You need to become a Bitcoin hedge fund where you can have, again, other bets on the other side of the balance sheet. Whether it's Bitcoin mining companies that actually make ASICs. Or Bitcoin actual, stock companies that, make stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure Amazon's going to buy, right? So that would still be an excellent purchase if Amazon puts like 10,000 BTC on their balance sheet. That they're serious about the future.
I feel like the big traditional firms, let's just say, I mean, we saw Microsoft reject it earlier, or at the end of last year, right? We just saw Meta apparently I just saw this week, Meta rejecting it, right? So it seems like these big firms, these traditional, tech companies are actually not rushing to adopt it. And what gets me is there because there's still a lack of education, a lack of awareness, or is there something else that perhaps they're incentivized not to, that we might not know about? Oh, afraid of competition, maybe? I don't know.
So I'm pretty sure that the one thing a lot of these tech companies think is that they think that their quantum processors or quantum computers are going to roll back the chain. And I tell them, or AI, or a combination of AI mixed with quantum computing is going to roll back the chain. And it's like, no, bro, you keep thinking that. And it clearly demonstrates that you need to brush up on some cryptography. There's a video one of these great content makers made like a year or two ago, where if you really wanted to roll back the chain and break Bitcoin's cryptography, you literally, every heavenly body in the whole universe would have to become like a Bitcoin mining operation to do this. It's like, no, it's not happening. You're all crazy. Put down your crack pipes. It's not happening. Because eventually the miners will agree on like SHA-3, and SHA-3 is quantum resistant. So one or the other will happen first, right? Like Bitcoin will have better ASIC miners, or we switch to a safer hashing algorithm. And SHA-3 would operate pretty much the same way, and couldn't be rolled back by quantum computing.
So when I was in Vegas, I went to the Blockstream booth. Had to do it, right, man? Got to meet and talk with the OG. One of the only two people name checked by Satoshi in the freaking white paper, man. I got to meet the dude, Adam Back, and I talked to one of the devs there. I believe his name was Paulo, and I specifically asked him where they are in the process of quantum, especially when it comes to hardware wallets, because they've got the Jade, right? And I saw the new one, and it's really nice. But where are they in that whole process and their thoughts on quantum? And he kind of said, he goes, well, I can't really tell you too much, but I can tell you that we are looking at it, we are addressing it, and the big brains at Blockstream, they're thinking about this. So already. They're already working on solving these issues when it comes to privacy, security, and hardware. So again, tip of the cap to Adam Back. He is the OG and the team over there. Man, boy. So they're already addressing these issues. Why big AI hyperscalers will have to become Bitcoin mining companies? I don't think they will. See, I disagree. I don't think they will.
Oh, I do.
Why do you think they will, Jared?
Because they're just wasting so much money on, again, GPT is awesome. Some of these AI models are really cool, but they aren't as important as AI money, which is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is 1,000 times more important than me being able to have a conversation about the Mongolian Empire with, a digital assistant. That's really cool, but that doesn't help me, right? That doesn't help my country. That doesn't help my city state, right?
But isn't that why we're seeing the miners pivot towards HPC AI, is because that the deals are more lucrative and we've got a huge demand and the money is there versus the risk and the volatility with Bitcoin mining and all of that stuff. So they're taking the bag, the for sure secured money, which is why they're shifting their priorities to this power load versus a different kind of power load.
Yeah, again, you're seeing most of the money being spent on these AI facilities. And again, they're, tons of huge GPU farms, right? And at some point, that the energy that's expounded is going to outweigh the money that they're bringing in, just like a solar farm, just like a wind farm, right? And they're keep expending capital. If you're not bringing that capital in, like perfect example, there's millions and millions and millions of people that do not pay for Chat GPT. And then there's hundreds of thousands of customers that do.
Like me.
Yeah. The free users like me, we're expending way more energy, right?
Yeah. Screw you. Come on, buck up and pay for subscription.
Pay for you guys.
My juice,
that's
man.
not going to happen, right? And this is where Bitcoin eventually overtakes them, because at some point that model starts to implode, right? Whether it's DeepSeek's model, or it's Grok, or that's XAI, or it's OpenAI's ChatGPT. One of these models is not profitable, and then guess who jumps in on those data centers real fast? Bitcoin, because I can't use this big data center anymore. I have to refacilitate it. I may have to put in ASICs. I may have to do that.
But then you're looking at a major capex, right? Then you're going to have to that's.
I know, but if the power to generate that Bitcoin is less than it was to push that AI power, then it becomes profitable, right? So there's a whole bunch of buts and ifs.
Buts and ifs.
Yeah, but if these things are built in places that have very cheap power, right, or they get really good power leases with the grid company, then yes, Bitcoin.
Well, that's what we're seeing though happen right now with these HPC AI. They're going in and they're able to get these crazy purchase power agreements, right? 3 cents, 4 cents, per kilowatt hour, which is unheard of, right? So that they've got these locked in for a long time, and then the power companies are like, oh great, we'll be happy to sell you this for an extended length of time and give you this purchase power agreement, right? Because they can come in and they can negotiate these deals because they have the leverage and they have the ability to do it.
Well, here's Nick found a video with Preston Pish and I guess Daniel Batten talking about this. So let's check it out.
Yeah.
Be happening. It's not happening yet, but I predict it will. Is exactly as you say, that AI companies will start to move into Bitcoin mining. Now, why would they do that? It's not for revenue diversity. It's a completely different driver. The big challenge you have if you're a large AI hyperscaler is securing energy contracts, particularly when grid operators are saying, well, what are you going to do for us as a grid? You don't solve a problem like Bitcoin miners do. You're not a flexible user of energy.
Right.
You're a very inflexible user of energy.
Yeah.
And I've got too much intermittent power in my grid. I'm not sure that I can handle the sort of baseload energy requirements you give. You can't help me stabilize the grid. It's not going to drive down prices. What do you do? And the only answer they've really got is, well, we'll pay you a good price of power. There was a case in Ireland recently where a large AI data center was turned down for this exact reason, that it was seen as being a parasite on the grid. Troy Cross describes it as a locust to the grid, whereas the Bitcoin mining companies are more like the dung beetle. They'll soak up energy, they'll solve problems, they'll turn waste other people don't want into something valuable, which is a great analogy.
It is.
So if you're an AI data center, what do you do? Well, the great news is you don't have to completely change and pivot 100% from AI to Bitcoin mining. You might only need to do 5% flexible load data centers. And suddenly you've got enough flexibility that the reason you're doing Bitcoin mining is not for the Bitcoin you earn, although that's a benefit. It's because it gives you the shock absorber where now when the grid operator says, can you power down 5%? They say, yes, you can. We'll just shut off all our Bitcoin mining units. And now you're a flexible energy consumer and you're going to be welcomed onto the grid. So that'll change things completely and it'll allow them to chase power purchase agreements where otherwise they may have been less successful.
Fascinating. That's really great stuff right there.
This is why, Bitcoin is so important, and why we've discussed this time and time again. You're a new company, you must be flexible with your energy, and that means you need to incorporate Bitcoin in your business model. Whether you're putting an ASIC in your basement, just a single one, right? Or you're a small food cart, you're taking lightning payments, right? Because I think I have a tweet from Carl B. Menger from a week or so ago. This is super, once you see this meme, you can't unsee it. Let me see if I can. Yeah, here it is. So if you're, did I put, there it is. So if you're a small food truck operator, every literally $100 you took in 2020, right? If you took in $100 worth of Satoshis, every time you did that, you 10x your money. Yeah. So why are you not taking Bitcoin as a vendor, right? It is pure insanity, right? Because that's the other big news from the conference. Square is adding Bitcoin payments to all their terminals by the end of the year, right? And you can literally hit a button, boom, QR code comes up, sheep, 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 done, right?
Well, I would like to think then. Okay, so if that is in fact the way things are going, then we're going to have to see some major changes as far as cap gains and taxation and the way that Bitcoin is then accounted for. Because if we're trying to get it to get back to the origination of the white paper of a peer-to-peer currency, then dude, we got some serious work to do here to change those laws.
Well, very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. There's actually, let me get back to my bookmark.
I'm coming up against a hard stop here in about 5 minutes.
You got it. Let me just pull this up and we'll talk about that and then we'll wrap it up. But it is It was a case from Australia, I think from about 2 weeks ago. Let me see. And here it is. Boom. So basically, a judge says Bitcoin is just another form of money, which means it could be exempt from capital gains tax, right? I've been saying this since 2018. It is money. It is exempt from capital gains. And, we have multiple states, right? I think Missouri, Texas, and I think there's 5 other states where capital gains tax has been repealed or doesn't exist anymore. And in the 2 new states, that's for Bitcoin as well, and cryptocurrencies and digital assets. So we're starting to see this trend. And why are states doing this? It's the same reason they're adopting Bitcoin laws, is because they want to attract new capital and new people to their state and or country, right? Hong Kong just said, hey, you got corn? Yes, come on in, right? El Salvador, you got corn? Come on down. And the next evolution of this is we will give you an apartment, right? We will give you a condo. We will give you property.
I don't know
if
about
you show
that.
us, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I don't know about if they would. I mean, they're you got to buy citizenship to some of these countries, man. We're talking $1 million if you want to move to El Salvador. You want to be a citizen. It's like, yeah, you can have Bitcoin, but you're also going to have to pay to be a citizen there.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, it hasn't happened yet, but I said there's going to be bigger perks in the future because as the Bitcoiners start to move to these new Bitcoin countries, if you want to become a Bitcoin country, you're going to have some edge over El Salvador, right? And that's going to mean we give you property, we give you tax benefits, we give you ABC, XYZ to draw you away from these other, possible Bitcoin destinations.
Possible, very possible.
Yeah, for sure. I know you said he had to go. We've been going for about an hour, roughly an hour, and I think 10.
Yep.
Let's wrap it up. It was a great show. Again, the show was Game Theory. It's on like Donkey Kong from South Korea to Latin America and everywhere in between. Let's thank our sponsors again, Quantum Expeditions, Quantum Mechanics, Deorganized Media, Shield Folio, and the team at Bitcoin Live, and my co-host, Matty Satz, the man, the myth, the legend.
Thank you, Nick. Dude, we couldn't do it without Nick. Nick is like the secret sauce. Like, he really is the secret sauce.
He is the special agent behind all the scenes. And thank you for that clip at the end there, talking about, Bitcoin will work its way into the AI centers. It's going to happen. But everyone have a great day. And as Matty Satz always says, stack sats, stay safe, hodl. Peace.